Is it time to reveal your real magic and become seen, known, and valued? Everyone, to this week's Visionary Voices deep dive. I hope you're having a great week. So today we're here with Lynn Hord to talk about Amplify Your Joyful Voice. And we haven't met before. Hi, I'm Rionach. I'm the deep dive visibility mentor to help you unlock your wisdom and step into, what you're here to do. And I'm so excited to introduce you to this very special woman. Today, Lynn has been my business mentor since I think January 2020, and I've known her for, since 2019. She's completely changed my business and how I do business. And I dubbed her the alignment genie because she's got such a special gift of bringing into alignment all of the business offers and messaging and just a whole being as well. So I'm also now calling her my creative midwife because she's helped me create so many things, the midwife behind my magic. So welcome, Lynn. It's gorgeous to have you here with us today.
Pleasure to be here, and I do love the names that you give me.
It's such a good fit. So anyone watching today, just want to say, please just put in hello or type in replay. If you're here watching the replay, we will respond to all of your comments. Hi, Sandra. Sandra is calling from Germany, and Lynn, you're in Australia, so it's the evening time for you as well.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. So just to share a little bit more about, what Lynn does, and as my business mentor, she really supports what she calls pioneering businesswomen to elevate their message, marketing and mindset so they can usher in the next evolution of their work. And I know in my work with Lynn, she helped me create this group that we're in, the Visibility for Visionary Leaders group, to get really clear on the vision and how to communicate that and how to launch it in a way that felt right for me. She helped me with my sales calls, my visibility breakthrough sessions. She helped me create my signature talk, the 3 keys to visibility for visionary leaders, and try that out in her amazing Joy Jam group. She helped me create my first proper launch, the Poetry Breakthrough Experience that I know many of you in this group have experienced. Lynn was the creative creatrix behind that, which was amazing, and also the Magnetic Presence program, which I've just finished delivering. So much. I could talk a lot about what you've brought, Lynn, but I know that I'd love to hear about your journey and how you got started in this work, because you're a joy coach, you're a business mentor, you're a copy queen, you're an alignment genie. How did you end up where you are, and how did you discover your unique approach to being such a potent creative midwife for conscious businesswomen?
Well, words have always been in my bones. I grew up wanting to be a novelist, ended up becoming a journalist, worked in the media for 15 plus years, but I also trained as a coach. I had a real calling to help people in a different way aside from writing. So I got into coaching, and when I started my business journey, my first business was actually a copywriting business because that's what I knew. So I did that, and I was really hesitant about bringing in the coaching stuff, but everything evolves, as we know. So I eventually became more of a business coach. I got some real good experience with a mentor when I was at the very beginning stages of my business, and just discovered that I was good with words because it was an easy crossover for me, having worked with words for so long, to use them to grow our businesses and deliver our message. And with the coaching stuff, and these were kind of going along simultaneously, and that's the story for another day, integrating the 2 parts of myself, which I'll get to in a second. But eventually I realized that I was the joy coach. I got interviewed for a magazine, and it just hit me. I was like, I need to talk about joy. And so then I kind of had these 2 businesses going side by side until eventually I was like, hang on a minute. let me support people in their businesses, but do it in an extraordinarily joyful way, because I know that joy is all about alignment, really following the energy. And so that's in a nutshell how I got to where I am now, is really combining those skill sets of, I have a real way with words. Having worked with them for decades now, it's almost like a sixth sense that I'm like, oh, that's not quite right, or it is. I have a real sense for the words. But now working with amazing pioneering women, like I know that they're just trying to draw out their essence into what they're saying about their work. And so I'm able to pull those two pieces together and go, where is the joy here? Like, where is this lighting you up the most? And that's where we find the alignment. So that, in a very hopefully short nutshell, is how I got to where I am now.
Beautiful. I love that. And I know my experience, when I'm in a session with you, I'll often come along, whether it's in a group or one-to-one, with, a fuzzy idea. Maybe I should do this, but I'm not quite sure. And, you're able to ask me questions and also feel like, oh, when I've said that, when I say this piece, you're like, oh, that's it. I'm feeling the energy. I'm getting all the tingles. I'm getting the yes.
Yeah.
And so it's really able to, like, literally amplify that voice of aliveness. And it's really magical how you can shift my energy and bring the clarity and the golden nuggets out of the slightly messy process.
Yeah. And that's, and for everybody, listening, like, that's part of my gift, but it's taken me time to really trust it, to really recognize it, and to now absolutely rely on it. So when we're in a session, and Rionach and I have talked about this in another place, like we've been in a session and we hopped on a call to actually talk about a long-term program that Rionach wanted to create. And just as we hopped on the call, it was like I got a little knock in the front of my head saying, I think a 5 or 6 week program might be better. And I was like, no, that's not what we're here to talk about. Like, she doesn't want to hear that from me right now. And then we get into the call 15 or 20 minutes and it's like, knock, knock, 5 or 6 week program, knock, knock. And I actually said to you, I remember I said to you, I was like, look, you might not want to hear this right now because we're talking about this longer term program, but I can really feel that maybe a 5 or 6 week program might be better. And, you ran with it because it felt like in alignment with you as well at the time.
Totally. And that was the birth of magnetic presence, and it really brought back, the poetry magic into the visibility. And just you saying that, it just kind of, the idea just landed so quickly, that alignment, that idea that I hadn't been focusing on. I think that was April 2021, and by June I'm kind of going, yep, I'm doing it. This is going to be the first step into the longer program. And I've just finished. Sandra's, who's here, was on that program, and the transformation, people were just blown away by what shifted. So thank you for being my creative midwife for that as well.
Pleasure.
And I'd love to talk more about this, this alignment genie and joy coach. What's the connection that you've discovered between joy, between alignment, between aliveness, and creating a business, and all the business structures and messaging that really brings you alive and also, attracts the right people to your business?
So I think about joy, like, we know it's an emotion, it's an energy, it is playful, and it is vibrant. And when we are in joy, we are incredibly attractive. We see someone like, oh, wow, they're having a good time, they're enjoying life, they radiate. And when it comes to messaging, if we can bring that energy to our own message, that immediately puts us into a different level when we are sharing our message. And for me, like, really connecting into our joy is about connecting into our heart, the concept of what lights us up, where is that energy or the aliveness in this very moment right in front of us. And we talk about our message. It's like what I do on calls with clients. It's like I'm scanning for that joy, so that like internal ignition of, you're like, yeah, that's it. You can see it. Like, you can watch anybody and see it. It's it's like, their eyes get brighter, they sit up straighter, that, they might lean forward a little bit, and the energy just ignites inside them. And when we are using that message, as I said, we're more attractive, our message is more powerful because we have plugged our heart into our message, which ignites it. You know, that's our conviction behind it. But it also makes it incredibly easy and in flow for us. That's the other really big piece here. Because, you know, the wonderful people in your audience, I know the people in my own community, that's something that we all want. We want to feel like our business is light, it's easy, we're in flow, we're not having to push all the time. And this is one of the core pieces. So if you start with joy, it supports your message. It supports how you market because you're coming from inspiration and ease. And it supports the creation of your business because you are in that flow state. Like, that's what we're looking for. It just makes such a massive difference when we go with the energy first and then take the action second.
Yes. Oh, beautiful. I love that. And Sandra is saying this program was pure magic in terms of magnetic presence. But I know for me, you know, what used to happen, not so much anymore, but it can still come up, is, you know, and a lot of people I know, we struggle with the, you know, the kind of the good old not enough monster, and we end up caught in perfectionism and getting ready to be ready and kind of sweating over the details, you know. So how do you help people, you know, make that shift to drop into their heart and create from there? And you know, you've talked about the difference it makes to ignite your message. But how do you, you know, how do you help people shift that?
It's so first of all, it's actually recognizing, becoming aware when you are in that what I call headspace versus when you're actually sunk into your heart center. So when we have all of those mind gremlins, you know, that, oh, I'm not sure this is enough. Do I have anything original to say? Somebody else has already said it before. What's the point? Nobody's listening. I've been there, I've done that, guys. Like, yep, totally get it. We've all had those many. Exactly. Everyone hands up. Yep. And so that's all because we're stuck up in our head. And one of the ways that we can do that is really centering and grounding into our heart. So you and I did it just before we got on. You know, we did a visualization, and because you and I do it so often now, it's like that. You know, so when I sit down to share something now, and we can talk about specifics because everyone has a different way. But, you know, I will sit down because I'm a writer at heart, as you know, and I'll sit down and go, what is on my heart today? Like, what is calling me to share or speak about, you know, this relevant topic, you know, a topic that is relevant. So, but it's a practice because, you know, when I was younger, like, I spent so much time in my head, it was ridiculous. The idea of connecting into my heart, I'd be like, how do I do that? It just wasn't a practice I had. So it's a development. It's something we have to cultivate. So, but for me, it's that simple, like really grounding in. I imagine putting roots into the ground to bring my energy down into my body. And then I really center on my heart. I really feel it. And then I ask the question. Often I'll ask my guides to help me. I'm like, okay, so what would you love me to share today? So that's the way I do it.
Beautiful. I love that. And especially asking the guides, you know, what would you love me to share today? So it's getting centered and then opening to receive the information. And I know for me, you know, often sharing poetry is what kind of lights me up and lets that flow come through, as well as that practice of grounding as well. So beautiful.
Ooh, and can I just add, so because you just said then coming through me, one of my favorite phrases and my goal when it comes to messaging is to allow the message to come through me, not from me. So like, I'm still working on that. It's like, I want to be a conduit, like, because I believe we're all meant to be. Like, I think that's the point. We're supposed to share a message through our unique lens because we are all unique and divine beings. Bless us all. You know, but we have to allow that through, which requires moving it, you know, finding a way to decide those like mind gremlins and really connecting into our body. So you just sparked that idea for me, that thought then was that, you know, for me, the goal is allowing the message to flow through us.
Yeah. Beautiful. I love the depths in that, you know, that surrender as well. And I know there's a lot of people, you know, in my community who do really deep transformational work and almost feel that you know, how do you put that energy into words? You know, how do you communicate that? They, you know, it's like, oh, I love doing my deep transformational work, but I don't know how to communicate the value of something so
Mm.
intangible in a way that it really lands. And I know this is, you know, one of your areas of genius. So what would you say to people who are like, oh, others don't get me because it's so deep? How does this way of communicating help with that?
Yeah, it's a great question. And there are two parts to this in my experience. So the first one is recognizing that your message is a reflection of how able you are to reveal yourself at this time.
Mm.
So if you're still a little bit afraid of sharing the full transformation, if there's a part of you that's still a little bit hesitant or unsure about the complete result that you can get, you will hold back on the words that you use because the confidence and the certainty and the trust aren't completely there yet. And it's very normal. So that's just one angle to look at it when you're thinking about, I can't quite express the words. It's like, how connected am I? How much do I trust? How much confidence do I have in the outcome that I can create for somebody? So it's believing in, you know, that part of your message. And then the other one is a practical side. It's like really getting that feedback from your clients, because that's often where our message begins to truly form, when we're getting that feedback from people we've worked with and they express for us the level of impact our work has. Use that, my friend, use it, like put that in your copy. So start somewhere, refine yourself internally in terms of how bold you feel like you can be in making your claims, and use and talk to and get testimonials to pepper through your copy. So that's how I kind of support someone, and obviously do this myself, to really have that page express the full transformation of your work.
Beautiful. I love that. You know, I talk about that, you know, visibility is all about connection with ourselves, with source,
Mm.
and with others. And I feel that this is, you know, you're really you're claiming, you know, your full voltage of who you are. And, you know, and that's a vulnerable thing. You know, you're letting the message come
It
through you,
is.
but you're also being consciously connected to where are my people at? How are they talking about this? What language are they using? And that builds
Mm.
that bridge with transforming. So I've got Stephanie saying, yeah, great question. I battle with that too, according to the energetic work I do. I know Stephanie does very deep energy work.
Yes,
So that's really good advice there.
yes.
Yeah.
And the one small addition to that is also like, who is your ideal client? Because what you just said there made me remember to say, thank you, Rena, you're just sparking the ideas and reminding me to say things. Is like, where is your ideal client talking about that transformation as well? Because we do need to meet them where they are at, when we are, as well, knowing where they're at, but also using the language that they can relate to in terms of where that transformation can come. So actually that's the third piece in the triangle.
Beautiful. Yes, and that's very much about creating that connection as well. And it can
Yeah.
feel you know, and I know some of that comes from sharing our own personal stories as well, and it can feel like a
Mm.
vulnerable thing to do. So, what's your take on, you know, that being authentic, this sharing our own transformational journeys, while also, you know, still being seen as an expert in what we do, rather than you know, somebody who's falling apart all the time, even though we all have our our stuff, right? We're all on a journey. So, how does that
We
work?
absolutely, and I love this question about authenticity, because the people in my audience and the people in your audience, this is what, you know, we want as clients of other people, and it's also what, you know, we want to receive. We don't want to work with people or follow people who make out that everything in their life is shiny and golden, like we know we can see a lot elsewhere. But the authenticity for me is really about showing and being a leader and a model for the fact that, you know, you can still have success. You can still be an expert, even if you don't have everything sorted. Like, I just think that that is so important for us to share. And the journey towards that level of vulnerability and authenticity is different for everyone. And, you know, I would really encourage people just to just to go with where you're at right now, because the last thing we want is for you to feel so exposed that you go and hide in a hermit's hole for months and months and years. Like, we want you to be out there expressing stuff, sharing, what is real for you. So just take baby steps, So last year I had a launch, and, I chose to, like, after that launch, even though on paper it looked like a success, I was really disappointed in it. But I shared that. Like, I shared the journey. I shared the real emotion of what I went through during that experience. But I know that really helps. But I was okay because I did all of the work on the emotion, like, beforehand. So that's kind of if you're still triggered when you're going to share something, don't share it. That's not good for you, and it's not good for others. And more importantly, it's not good for you. That will cause you trauma. That means you will then, like, retreat. So it's like, can you feel like, even with a friend, can you talk about it and not feel that, triggering your body? If you don't, then hey, go and tell your audience about it as well. So and there's, we talk about, like, what is too much information. So that's something that I shared recently in a blog, and it's about whatever it is that you want to share, just consider how is it relevant to your audience. That's really the secret. So I knew that sharing about that launching experience was deeply relevant to my audience, because some of them hadn't launched. They didn't know what that journey entailed. Some of them had been launching. They were just wondering, okay, what's it look like inside yours? But they learned things from my experience, because that was the point of me sharing. I was like, okay, guys, here's what I experienced, and here's what I recommend going forward. Here's my learning.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that. And I think it's that sharing of something that, I also call it fully cooked rather than completely raw, before you share. If you're very raw when you're sharing, there's a couple of things will happen. One is you will feel, more exposed than you need to. Sometimes you do feel vulnerable and exposed anyway, but in a way that's not healing. That's and the other thing is that often sometimes the response you'll get, and this is sometimes how you'll know, because we don't always get it right, if people are kind of going, oh, are you okay, and they're wanting to take care of you, that you're not showing up as your empowered self, saying I'm vulnerable, but I've got it, I've got support, I don't need help, rather than people kind of seeing you as a victim. So that's another good sign as well.
That's a really good point. And the last thing I'd add there is it's also choosing where you share. So my intimate community of women inside the Joy Jam Collective, like, that's where I share at my most vulnerably. Yeah. If I'm out on my business page, I share a slightly less vulnerable version. Similar learnings, but not as expressive or as open as I might be with the women in my community. So it's also finding places where you feel safe to share, to stretch yourself just a little bit.
Yeah, and having those safe containers as well. Beautiful. So, and I know that, there's allowing all this beautiful messaging, energy to flow, and our essence of who we are is really important. And I talk about the riverbanks and the river, the kind of masculine structures that hold space for our energy to flow through. And, as you are, your business mentor, you're a copy coach, we need structures, don't we? In our business and in our messaging, but how can, intuitive, deep dive, creative people like me and like me, we can resist, or I can resist structures anyway and feel constrained by them. So how do you help people to hold that paradox and bring these two energies together so that, you've got some, consistency or just some structures to hold all of this delicious energy?
And I love this conversation. I call it the great content creation debate. Because it is, as intuitive women trying to do business in the feminine way, we want to follow the inspiration. That's what we were talking about in terms of connecting with our heart and seeing what wants to come through us. That is being connected to inspiration and flow, which is a beautiful thing. Now, that, because I think of it like, so that's the feminine part of the equation, and then the masculine, like you talked about, the riverbank, that is the structure. Like, so how are we supporting ourselves? And it's not, because some people think, oh, I feel restricted. I'm like, no, it supports you to actually be able to express more and more freely and more often. So this is a real exploration. So I encourage everybody to really experiment with what works best for them. So I've done a lot of my own experimentation. A lot of it hasn't worked because I haven't found my way and hadn't found my way, but I have now. So I give myself a loose structure. I know across the week, I want to put this many posts here, here, and here. And that really works for me because it's got flexibility, because I'm not trying to be out every day. So if I miss a day because I'm not feeling great, which we know, or I'm not feeling like I want to be out, in public, I'm like, okay, that's cool. I'll just move it over to tomorrow. So I have found like a structure that works for me. And of course, scheduling, guys, it's not a bad word, I promise. It's actually really supportive. Now, we don't have to, and this is about scheduling things that you can, like, for instance, if you have a testimonial video, you can schedule that. It's not about scheduling your lives or never being present. It's about thinking, what are the pieces that I can schedule? It doesn't take away from me showing up, but really supports me to have that flexibility. And that's the key. It's like, how do I create this that allows flexibility for, because when we don't, we are cyclical beings, and there are times when we just can't show up in the same way. So I know that you, and I'd love for you to share your journey with this, because you've found you found your way with this really well.
Yeah, and well, I think for me it was it was really keeping it simple, keeping it really simple and doing a lot of repurposing. So what I find is, doing the weekly lives, creating content for that, writing a post or a story that speaks to that, creating an email from that, creating a blog from that, is really helpful. And that really helps me. And also for me, what lights me up is being in contact, with my community, with my group, and I'm feeling that I'm really speaking to people and speaking to things that is helpful for them as well. And yes, there are times like after a launch or over the summer when I'm not out there every week. I don't promise to be. I say most most weeks I show up here. But also it's great to to take a pause and to allow that as well. But having that structure, that this is what I follow, really helps. Yeah, and letting myself be rhythmical. No, I'm not somebody who wants to be launching all the time. It's good to do that and then have quiet periods as well. So yeah, and also what I support people with, I really encourage people to find their own way, because there's a lot of potency in the quiet creative time. I know a client that I was working with recently, she was like, oh, it's coming to the end of the summer, I should be getting back out there, I should be, getting visible. And I was really tuning in and saying, actually, you're in a kind of a winter, early spring phase. I just feel like, let yourself have a bit more quiet time to let these creative ideas come through, and you'll know when you're ready. And in the weeks that followed, she got a download, she got her, her book title, how she was going to lay out the book, and then in conversation in our sessions, got ideas for group programs she could create, and just like a whole new business model, a whole new way of working arrived because she gave herself that creative space. So
I love that.
it's about trusting that when that's really what you're doing, rather than procrastinating, because sometimes it's hard to tell the difference. So, but it's because it's really tuning into where is the energy alive, to whether you're hiding or whether you're hatching something brilliant.
Oh, I like that. Hiding or hatching. But it is a good question, that fine line between am I hiding and avoiding, or am I actually waiting for something to drop me? That's a good one to be watchful for.
Yes. Gorgeous. So I'd just love to invite anybody who's got any questions to drop them into the chat. If you've got any questions about anything that Lynn had, or share your experience of messaging as well. And I'd love to, what I teach people about visibility is inviting people into our worlds. How do we invite our people into our world rather than feel we have to be out there speaking to everyone? So I'd love, Lynn, if you could invite us into your world. I've done your group program, I've done your one work. It's really game changer for my business. So how can people go deeper with you? I know you've got a Own the Throne challenge. So can you share details of your upcoming challenge and how people can go deeper with you?
Absolutely. So after quite a hiatus, I'm back with a challenge. If you haven't met me, I quite like a challenge in my business. So next Monday, I've got the Own the Throne challenge, and it is to help you amplify your voice, power up your message, and really support you to stand out and shine online even more. And I'm taking you through it'll be a 5-day framework. And so some of the stuff we touched on today, we'll be having a look at. So day 1 is connect your conviction, which is all about getting that down into your heart for that message. Day 2 is about firing up your courage, having a look at what might be in the way. Day 3 is let inspiration lead. You might have, we've talked about a little bit about that today. Day 4 is embracing consistency, finding what your riverbanks are. And day 5 is about being more you. So really showing up with that authenticity piece. So you can have a look over on my business page on Facebook. Obviously, we're in Facebook. You can have a look there if you want a link for that. I think Rionach's going to put it down below. And if you just want to come and hang out, the place to really spend some time with me is inside the Joy Jam Collective. So that's my free group here on Facebook.
Yes, and I haven't got the link to that to hand, but I will post that as well. It's an amazing, gorgeous group. And I just want to say your challenges are amazing. You were also the genius behind my challenge as well, the Poetry Breakthrough Experience. And when I was delivering that, I felt like I was delivering a retreat. And people who were attending, they just got so much awesome value from a 5-day challenge. So, I know that, you are really brilliant at creating these incredible experiences. So that sounds amazing. So gorgeous. So yeah, and that was really helping you to amplify your joyful voice and really get out there and shine. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Because that's the thing. It doesn't matter what level of business we're at. There's always a deeper level that we can connect in with our message. And sometimes, it's like you might come to the challenge and discover that one thing that's in the way of you really being even bolder, with your message. You might find a little tweak in terms of how you want to speak about it. It's really like that nuance, just gradually stepping in. So that's kind of like the idea, get you even more aligned with your message and really feel inspired to go out there and share it, because that's what we need to do. And that's what lights us up. It's all about self-expression. So that action piece is a big part of the puzzle.
Beautiful. And I love your approach, the way you're bringing joy and alignment into business, which can be a little bit, feel constraining for those of us that are, on the more creative side as well. And it really, I know it really helps people to find their unique way of showing up and their unique message that's ready to come through them in the next level. So beautiful. Okay, so guys, if you're joining, I just got a message from Stephanie. Rionach, you're so inspiring in sharing your wisdom, but also in creating a platform where you invite others to share their wisdom. Thank you. Beautiful. And that's what I was just going to say. I just love, Lynn, how you support other incredible visionaries to become visible in very tangible ways, but also in ways that really amplify the potential that we feel inside and bring it into reality. And I just want to I'm so grateful to you for how you have brought my potential out into the world and created transformation in others. I had a client who did my group program recently who thanked me for walking his talk, and he's saying, because now I'm walking my talk and I see the ripple effect. So I want to thank you for helping me to walk my talk so I can help all of these amazing people, and so can you. And the ripple effect is really massive. So thank you so much. And
my pleasure. You're right. It's the impact. That's how we create impact. And showing up for our clients who then get to show up for theirs. So thank you. That was a
With
brilliant.
joy. With joy.
Yes, with joy. Yes.
Why not? Okay, so that's all from us today. If you have any questions, just post them in the comments, and both myself and Lynn will come and respond to them. But hope to see you next week, because it's next week, the challenge. I will be in there, and we'll speak to you then if you're there. Thanks, Lynn.
Thank you very much. It was great to be here. Bye.